Win big with new DRF All Access past performances. With one best-in-class product, you now get all three past performance formats. Go to DRF.com and use coupon code ONEFREEPP for a free single card today.
Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Ashley Mailloux, taking a look at the feature race at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. Race number 11 closes out the card. It's the Our Dear Peggy Stakes. These are 2-year-old fillies going a mile on the turf. Before we take a look at this big, full field, remember that you still can get 10% off all DRF past performances. Shop now with the QR code on your screen. Use the coupon code DRFTV10. Here's the field for the Our Dear Peggy. These 2-year-old fillies trying to find their way. Many of them recently ran to Kentucky Downs, and to me, that adds to the confusion.
It does. And you also have horses that are stretching out from, say, 6.5 furlongs at Kentucky Downs to a mile at Gulfstream. You have horses switching off the Tapeta, the dirt. You have a little bit of everything. I actually thought this is a really good field top to bottom, Dan. There's a lot of question marks here, but I think there are horses that maybe are sneaky and offer value.
And there should be some speed in here with these lightly raced 2-year-olds stretching out. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector. There's the red bar indicating a fast pace. Can't argue with Unchained Elaine being among the pace setters. She is very, very quick. She's stretching out for the first time. Special Aviator showed a little bit of a rating gear in her career debut over the Synth. So I think if Unchained Elaine wants it, she can get the lead.
The one thing that I don't necessarily agree with here is not necessarily the pace, but you look at a horse like the 12, Hello, and I wonder with post 12, that's obviously going to potentially compromise her. She has only been a couple lengths offside of it, so very curious to see what Lionel Reyes does. Do you just wait, let everyone else go and move over and lose ground, or do you try to use a little bit of her, want to use quote unquote, early foot to just try to get a better position? I don't know if I envision her being that far back, but we'll see.
Fast pace would benefit the 11 Hot Dream, who has the fastest Timeform US late pace rating and kicked hard to win at 7.5 furlongs last time out. Breaking from the rail, however, is the number 1, Miss Mary Nell, and that's an advantageous post position considering a short run to the first turn at Gulfstream. Maybe getting back in the turf is what's going to spur improvement, because she does need to improve off her last race where she was beaten on the Synth by Hello. Lone turf try was good, though.
It was really good. She was able to graduate there. It was at the 7.5 furlong distance, so she was able to get that 2-turn test. And I'll draw a line through the 1 turn on the dirt. Her dirt figures have always been softer, and don't hate her performance last time out. I thought she was even though, and there's no, no doubt about the winner there. Hello, who she has to face again. But I like that she's drawn to the inside when you look at the contrast, right? Hello has the outside. She's all the way on the inside, and maybe she's able to sit 4th or 5th early on with that good post.
Unchained Elaine expected to be the speed coming out of that race at Kentucky Downs last time. Not only is Kentucky Downs just so quirky and hard to handle, especially for inexperienced horses like Unchained Elaine, but that was a tough field. I mean, a key race, the 3rd place horse came back to win the Grade 3 Matron up in New York with a 75 buyer. Unchained Elaine's only win came on dirt, but I just don't want to pigeonhole her as a dirt horse just yet. I am concerned about extra distance and perhaps a hot pace.
No, and the mare Razorback Lady, she was able to win on the turf, but it was at the 5/8 distance. My concern for her is not as much surface as it is the distance. When you look at her mom, more of a 6 furlong, 7/8 type in her career, even as I mentioned, could go shorter. It's a little bit of a test for Unchained Elaine. She's never gone 2 turns, and now she has to stretch out to a mile. It's a little bit of a tall task.
It's Witchcraft to number 3, needs a little bit of a buyer boost, but these lightly raced 2-year-olds can improve by leaps and bounds from race to race. And I thought she was very professional, winning at Colonial 2 starts back, waiting for her cue, and then bursting on through to win. Another horse that just might not have liked Kentucky Downs last time.
Might not have. Another one from a pedigree perspective on the bottom side, you think sprinting, but when you have these 2-year-olds and you have this sort of purse money on the line, $95,000, you take a shot, right? You see if they can go longer. I think looking at her last performance, maybe that's why they're thinking she could get added ground. Yes, she didn't necessarily love Kentucky Downs, but she was even throughout. Now she's going to get a 2-turn test in here. And Mark Cassidy does very well in these stakes races, whether it's the winter at Gulfstream or the summer months. She's, all year round, his horses are well spotted.
It'll be the turf and 2-turn debut for the 4 Brenna, who raced at a 1-turn mile last time on the main track at Gulfstream. Just don't love this turf pedigree. Connect only wins 6% with first-time turf runners. The Dam went 0 for 5 on the grass. She's foaled 1 runner that didn't win on the surface. And the lone win for Brenna came in a maiden claimer.
Yeah, that's the tough thing. They would need a huge buyer boost as well. And you look at the debut, I know it was on the mud, but Unchained Elaine went to the front. This one had no shot closing from off of it, was able to close, though, over the fast track next time out. And don't know what you do at the Hallandale Beach. You look at that performance, there have been horses that have run better than her since then. So a little bit of a tough sell for me.
I think Lemon Pepper Step is a really good fit at this level after a difficult trip last time out in the PG Johnson. She hopped at the start. The pace was slow. She was steadied early and near the back, floated extremely wide turning into the stretch, had to alter course inside, and still was running on a little bit at the end. And those were better horses than the one she's facing at Gulfstream on Saturday. Both the first and second place finishers came back to place in grade 2 races with stereo 73 buyers. She should get the right setup here.
Yeah, from a pedigree perspective too, you think she fits very well. I just like her progression. She was able to win on debut, tried stakes competition, a well-meant second, even though she was well defeated. And just second time going long for a barn that does very well with 2-year-olds is a dangerous angle.
Let's watch Bella Venino's most recent race. She started twice during the Kentucky Downs meet. Listen, if they're fit, run them for that kind of money. And Bella Venino ran second in a very expensive stakes race for Safi Joseph. The winner is just a nice horse. And there were some other horses in this race that came back to do well. The seventh place finisher returning to run third in the grade 3 Surfer Girl out in Southern California with the 76 buyer. This one's getting better with each start.
The impressive thing isn't not that these 2 races are at Kentucky Downs, but knowing when their meet is, Dan, there wasn't much time between these 2 races. And I think a part of the attraction was $1 million race. You can run back in less than 2 weeks, go for $1 million, see what happens. And if you run second like she did, $193,000 according to the chart, a lot of purse money there on the line. Kind of looking at those efforts, I think she raced much better the next time out there. And like that, she was able to make that start back so quickly, handled the stretch out in distance. Very excited to see this one go around 2 turns. I think she could be very tough because on debut, when we saw her around 2 turns, she was much the best.
Safi also trains the 7 Ramsey Pond, a horse with a similar profile, raced twice at Kentucky Downs, came back off a short layoff the second time and was much improved. Got up close to a moderate pace in that 1 mile race, but she really seemed way more focused in blinkers. I wonder if that was the key.
I think so. And I think the other thing to kind of look at, which was interesting, when you look at the times of those 2 races, the 6.5 to 6 furlongs went slower than the mile race. And the tactics from her were completely different. She closed in her first career start, her first one at Kentucky Downs. She was mid-pack in that event, kind of shuffled around, didn't have anything. And then she was quite forward on the stretch out. They went faster and she was much the best. So she is very intriguing here. You wonder if she's going to take play compared to her stablemate. It's tough to say what the price difference between these 2 will be because her figure last time out is much better than her stablemate, but her stablemate was also in $1 million race. So it's a tough thing to kind of sort through.
The number 8 is Paradise Wins. Distance will be no problem for this one. She's already routed twice, and she won successfully going 2 turns at Laurel last time out. I thought this race had a little bit of a pace meltdown, and maybe that helped Paradise Wins, who worked out a decent enough closer's trip. She was in some traffic on the far turn, but you see she gets the seam, and once she's in the clear, she does the rest. It was a good performance for Paradise Wins. She's very professional for a lightly raced filly, and is another that can get the setup.
It pulled this to get a little bit of your thoughts, Dan. I know you follow Laurel very closely, and the favorite ends up, not really being there. Was third, was closer to the pace as you mentioned, and I thought that this filly was really traveling well in those final stages. Much improved performance from her. We'll see what she can do against this group. She's now got to adjust to a different turf course. Laurel and Gulfstream, I think, are drastically different, but she's been trending in the right direction. And another one that we saw second time go long, there was a big improvement.
It's never easy to win a career debut going 2 turns. Special Aviator took some money in a 10-horse field, was bet down to 9-2, and she ran like she was live. She won very easily, staying close to a legitimate pace. Now, a major question is whether she'll handle the turf, but that was a promising performance, and maybe she'll offer a little value here.
Yeah, and the runner-up was the favorite in there and was further back early. You wonder if that made a little bit of a difference. But I thought the way that she kind of drew clear in the final stages was very impressive. You kind of look at the barn. Again, their numbers are very strong at the meet and on the year. Just curious, though, it is a tough task. Where we're talking about a lot of these other horses, they have a race or 2 more under their belt. It doesn't seem like it's a huge difference. But in my opinion, Dan, it is, and she has to switch surface.
Obliging the number 10. Her best race thus far has come on dirt. That was her debut, going 4.5 at Monmouth, but she stakes placed on synthetic, and she ran on pretty well to be third last time out on turf, going 5/8. I have a feeling distance might be okay for her. There's a little bit of stamina on the bottom of her pedigree. I watched her last workout on XBTV. She went in company with Lemon Pepper Steppa. It looked like she was actually going easier than that one, although, of course, it was on the dirt.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to note. Great that you can watch those works and kind of take away what you can from them, right? It's really tough, but interesting. They're both in this spot and they're a little bit different. I thought her performance last time out, though, on the turf was pretty impressive. She's got 4 starts now, 4 different tracks. A lot has been thrown at her at this point in her career for a horse that just started racing on June 1st, but she was ready to roll on debut. And I think it was her debut in the way that she won it. Sure, you never know what you're going to get in a 4.5 furlong event and where they're going to go from there, but I think for her best race since then was last time out. And it was on the grass locally at Gulfstream.
Hot Dream really improved on turf. She ran very well in her debut, going 5/8 on the synth, but she put it all together last time out. She got the right race flow, but she showed the willingness to kick on in the stretch. And again, her buyer speed figure came back light, but I'm not going to really put too much into that. These horses can improve. It's all about whether she can get a trip from a tough outside post position.
She had problems on her debut early, right from the beginning, and now you see her in 2 starts. She's been towards the back of the pack in both of them, but has been able to rally late. And I think the reason I would wonder about her in here is A, she can offer value, but maybe more importantly, the pace scenario. If some of these horses coming out of the sprint races decide to be forward, if the pace is honest, even though her numbers are light, she'd be a horse that I would maybe use underneath in a try because she has had some problems and has still been able to be right there, only missed by a length on debut and then came back to win.
Although both of the 12 hellos victories came on synthetic, it's way too early to just say she can't handle the turf. Her first turf start was going 2 turns. I think she might have needed that race. She didn't need her last start. Let's watch this impressive non-winners of 2 life allowance event where hello split horses 3 wide turning into the stretch and a little bit late to change leads, but she wins this race very easily. We'll see Miss Mary Nell get up for 3rd in the closing strides.
This is a huge performance, and I feel like Ron Spatz, big fan of his work, but when horses race on debut, I feel like if they run okay, they come back and they take steps forward in their second and their third career starts, and they do it pretty impressively, and she fits that bill. I feel like every year they always have a 2 or a 3-year-old that really kind of stands out. She would be the one for the barn this year, and again, she took some play last time out, I think, because of the race on August 31st, but she's got that tactical early foot. If you're going to knock her, it has to be the post stand. We see this all the time with 2-turn races, whether it's on the turf or the dirt at Gulfstream Park. Post 11 and post 12 are very difficult to win from.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the hour. Dear Peggy, closing out the Gulfstream card on Saturday. You've got the only 2-time winner. Hello.
I'm going to go with it. I am concerned about the post for her. And we saw that in the pace projections that she got enough early foot, but just because of that post, she may be towards the back of the pack. She can close from off of it, but if that's going to be where she is early, she's going to need to take a step forward. She's never been that far back in her career, but I think in terms of resumes to date, she has the most impressive one.
Curious to see how they bet this race. Lemon Peppa Steppa gets a little bit of a drop in class. I just don't think it was a very comfortable trip for her last time out, and she might get the right race flow here. 12-6-7-8 for Ashley, 5-12-9-2 for me, and a very competitive edition of the Our Dear Peggy at Gulfstream on Saturday. Best of luck.
Hey buddy, you look like you're in need of a winner, and just remember, if you like and subscribe right over here, you can get all of the great content on DRF.com, including Race of the Day, stakes previews, and lots more, featuring me and my superb selections. Trust me, you're not going to regret it.